As you probably know, if you've watched my videos before, I do a lot of sock knitting, and I end up with all these skeins that are left over. Every time. Hello, welcome to World on a String Designs. I'm Alicia. In this video, I'm going to show you what I do with my leftover sock yarn and leftover skeins of yarn. As you probably know, if you've watched my videos before, I do a lot of sock knitting, so I end up with these partial skeins. So what I used to do with these skeins is I would just shove them in a project bag, and then I knit so many socks that my project bag got full. So then I had to come up with another solution. I really felt like I was missing out by having all these lovely ends of yarn tucked away in a bag where I wasn't looking at them. So one day I had a bright idea. I found these jars. So this is a pickle jar, and it's a 1 gallon jar, and I thought, wouldn't that be perfect for displaying my yarn? And with the lid on it, the cats couldn't get at it, but I could still look at it and enjoy it. So that's what I have done. I do still have a couple project bags with some ends in it, so I do need to get some more jars out, but this is just one. And some of these might look familiar to you. I think this one was a 2024 Solo Sock Club skein. This one is my first set of Treadmill Socks leftovers. This one here is the glitter drop socks. So I know some of these I've talked about, and some of these are older. But I can always see what I have, and it's right there. And if I do want to pull something out and use it, I just pull it out and weigh it, see how much I have. Some of them have quite a bit left. Some of them are a little bit smaller. I tend to save like every last scrap. I have this one as well, and you can see my Tim Hortons inspired socks. I think that one was called Double Double. We had some self-striping in here, a lot of self-striping from Creative Yarns by Abby, and lots of pretties in here. So you might be wondering, what do you need to do to make your pickle jar look pretty so you can display it? So it's really not that hard. I find that these labels on the front are plastic. These ones on the back are sometimes plastic and sometimes paper. I found them probably 50-50 for both. So what I do with this plastic one is I just get a fingernail underneath and get it started pulling up. And once you get it started, it peels right off. And then what you're going to find is it does leave this, I'm not sure how well that's, yeah, there you go. This sticky residue behind, which is really annoying, and it's really hard to get off. What I've found works like a charm is the Mr. Clean Magic Erasers will take this right off without a lot of trouble. It will use more of the sponge than you think is reasonable, but it will take 2 minutes instead of half your lifetime. So it's definitely worth it. These ones on the back, if they're plastic, you're also going to pull them off the same way. And again, use your magic eraser to remove any adhesive. If they're paper, this one is paper. So if they're paper, what I find works best is to soak them in water, and then I take like a hard edge and kind of scrape it off. I think we use like a metal cuticle pusher maybe. If you had a razor, you could use that, but obviously be careful. But once you get it down to just the adhesive, then your magic eraser will work. It's probably not going to be terribly effective until you get that paper off though. Another thing that I put in is I have this one with scraps. So these are like all my teeny tiny little scraps that I use, and like my end trimmings. I don't throw them away usually. You could use them to stuff like stuffed animals or little pillows. But what I have planned for this is to cut them up into little snips and then card them up and make a bat out of all these different types of fibers, and then spin the fiber into a yarn and do something with it, just because I can't throw anything out. So there you have it. These are my yarn scrap jars, and you could probably find, if you went to like a Burlington Coat Factory or a TJ Maxx, you might be able to find some more decorative type containers or bottles or sort of like decanters. But this was kind of free. So this isn't the type of pickle that we usually eat, although I love pickles. So, I mean, I could eat them probably. But we tend to just get a different brand, and we don't get quite as big a jar as this. I'm never opposed to eating pickles. They're like one of my favorite foods. However, we do know somebody whose family eats a lot of them. So we kind of were like, oh, hey, we can give you some fresh eggs from our chickens, and if you don't mind giving us your jars. And they didn't mind. I think they were really happy that the jars were going to get reused instead of going in the trash. So these are kind of recycled, and they didn't really cost me anything. And then the lid is kind of ugly. I don't mind it so much, but you could also just paint them, just spray paint them, or some chalk paint. And then you could write on the top of them. Actually, now that I've thought of it, I think I probably will do that just to make it prettier when I display them. But when I have the lid on, my cats can't get into them. When they start getting full like this, you could get a paw in there and pull one out. And I have occasionally, when I've not had the lid on, found them in the living room, strewn. So there you go. I hope this is helpful craft idea for you guys. This is something that I just love looking at all the old yarns that I've knit with. You can see some of them are really small. And anytime if you want to work on a project, it's easier to plan if you can see. The other thing is usually I have so many socks that if one of them gets holes or is really worn, I don't really often mend my socks. If I have one that's like really a favorite, it's very easy to know if I have leftovers here, and I can just pull it out. And honestly, like where I have issues is usually the toe. So I just pull out the toe and reknit it, and it looks a little brighter for a while because, the yarn has been not worn as opposed to the sock that has. But that works really great for me, and hopefully that can be helpful for you too. And if you have other ideas on how you display or store your scrap yarn, please do share them. So another thing that I talked about recently is that my spring knitting plans. And one of the things that I was going to knit is a Hitofude cardigan. And that was one of the projects I was going to purchase yarn for. So in my New Year's resolutions knitting edition, I'll put the card up so you can watch that if you would like. I set a goal to only buy new yarn once a quarter. So one project a quarter, and otherwise I'm going to make an effort to knit down my stash. So when I shared my spring knitting plans, and again, I'll put that one up here as well. But when I talked in that video, I said that I wanted to make, I think it was 4 sweaters or tees, tanks, and top. But I did mention that I would like to purchase yarn for the Hitofude cardigan. And that cardigan calls for Tosh Merino Light, and I did purchase my yarn for that. So I thought I would share it. The color is Barbara Deserved Better. So this is a really nice pink. Tosh Merino Light is a single ply. So this is going to be a very lofty, very soft yarn. And it's not going to, it'll be great for lace because a single ply will really open up beautifully for lace. But it won't take wear terribly well. So we'll see how this goes. I may need to shave this cardigan quite a bit to keep pills off of it. I've never knit myself a garment with a single ply before. So this is new for me. I will go ahead and share where I am with my treadmill socks. So I did finish, I think I shared that, version 1. And this is version 2. And this was a box from Oakwood Knits in California. And I've forgotten the colorways, but I will put them, I think one was Bus Stop and one was maybe, but I'll put them on the bottom so you can see. And then I'm this far along in the second sock. And those are the colorways. They're very beautiful. I did share, I think, that I'm going on a cruise next winter. And one of the things that I thought about after the last time I posted was I wear almost all wool socks that I've hand knit. So I only have like one pair of shorties, and I think I'm going to need some socks for this cruise. I thought this colorway would be perfect for cruise socks. So I am going to try, and some of them might come out of these jars, but I am going to try to also knit a bunch of shorties for my cruise so that I have socks that I like to wear for my, I hate cotton socks now, you guys. I am just so used to wearing wool socks. And I do live in Maine, so it doesn't get hot here very often. And I also will be taking like some sandal type shoes on the cruise. So, you know, I can always fall back on that. And maybe I'll take a pair or two of cotton socks, but you know. Anyway, we'll have some pretty socks for the cruise. I do want to talk a little bit about my Winter League pullover. I did cast off that project on the last day of winter, which was kind of perfect because as you I'm sure saw it in the previous video, I am very eager to get started on my spring knitting. Unfortunately, I cast off the sweater, I tried it on. I had knit it a little bit small because it's superwash, and I know that superwash grows when it's blocked. Unfortunately, it grew a lot more than I was expecting. I am going to try to put it on a tumble dry cycle to see if it shrinks back up a little bit. One of the challenges, especially with a superwash yarn and a bulky yarn, is wool is heavy, so it can really stretch out stitches when it's wet. I did take care to try to press out as much water as I could before I moved it, but it still was very heavy and it just stretched and pulled at the stitches. And even though I did do a gauge swatch, the gauge swatch doesn't have a lot of yarn, so it doesn't have a lot of weight to pull at the stitches. I went back and I looked at on Ravelry at other projects that were done with Cascade 128, which is what this yarn is. And all the ones that I saw that looked like they were successful projects had used a smaller needle size. And when I went back and looked at the pattern, so this is the Winter League Pullover by Alexandria Tavel, the yarn that it called for, it had a high content of acrylic and a smaller, I want to say 80-20 perhaps, or 75-25 of acrylic to wool. So it wouldn't be as heavy and you wouldn't expect it to stretch as much where it was a blend. So I think I might go back and re-knit this on a smaller needle and perhaps also a smaller size and see if that helps. I do really like the sweater and I would love to have it to wear. I'm not really going to be in a hurry to do this though because I'm not even going to be able to wear it until winter. So I think this will be sort of like a side project. And you know, I've knit in superwash yarn before. My Heartbeat pullover came out wonderfully, but that was a fingering weight, so it's not as heavy. And I think the pattern, I'll have to look, but I believe that pattern was designed for superwash yarn. So a couple misses there as far as not checking the pattern and making sure that I was substituting like yarn for like yarn. And also, I definitely would recommend, and I usually do this, and I'm kind of surprised I didn't in this case. I usually will go look at projects on Ravelry and see like projects that I think the photos look nice, and then I'll click in and I'll read their notes and I'll take note of their needle size for that type of yarn and so on and so forth. So yeah, this is a big learning experience. Hopefully you guys can learn from it too, from my mistakes, instead of having to make your own mistakes with it. But yeah, I think this sweater I would very much like to have it. I'm just not in a hurry to redo it right now. And I think you'll see what progress I make over the spring and summer. But I think when we start getting into fall, I'll be a little more inclined to knit faster on this, or put some more time into this. Thank you for tuning in. Don't forget to like and subscribe, and I'll see you in the next video.